I'm so impressed with fans today because they are unafraid to use their voice and wield their power. Speak on the issues that they care about, but not just talk. They're also willing to use their buying power to patronize brands whose values align with their own.
All right, thank you. We are very lucky to have Danielle with us, class of '04. Am I correct?
That's right. Hi, everyone.
There you go. So a fellow Columbia grad. Um, Danielle, your title is so long. I'm going to let you actually say it for everyone else to hear it.
Sure. So I am the president of Artist and Fan Experiences at Warner Music Group. And what that means is I lead a creative agency within the organization that helps artists build their brand and their business opportunities beyond their music career. So that can take the shape of merchandise, content, licensing opportunities that extend their brand into new categories, activating in the Web3 space, and really helping them build a business that extends beyond their music career. So it's an exciting space. And how we do that is by creating these bespoke strategies for each artist. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Different artists are passionate about different things, and so are their fans. And so finding that common intersection and unlocking those new opportunities is what we are focused on.
That sounds like an amazing job. Sounds like a lot of
It's
fun.
a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So, music is a great equalizer when it comes to people, but also nostalgia seems to play a lot. I feel like the 80s and 90s have come back. Some good,
In a
some
big way.
bad. Yeah, some good, some bad. But tell us how nostalgia has affected your job and being able to make a connection with fans through that experience.
And nostalgia is a really powerful emotion. It offers comfort in times of uncertainty, and certainly this new generation have lived through some unprecedented moments. Um, and it's interesting. Gen Z, they're really reinventing nostalgia in some interesting ways. They are reclaiming these pop culture throwbacks and that are inspiring them to create moments that are all their own. And where we see that most prevalently is in social media, right? Where they're taking old hits and mixing that with new visual trends like makeup tutorials or, lip syncs, dances, fit checks. And they're really using the past as fuel for the future, creative fuel. And so one of the things that we've done is taken that insight. We know that 74% of Gen Z love when brands introduce retro products and content. And we've leaned into that by creating a new visual podcast called Iconic Records. Iconic Records is an 8-episode podcast. And in this first season, we are exploring the legacy of Notorious B.I.G. and the cultural impact of Life After Death surrounding its 25th anniversary. Yes, that album came out 25 years ago. So, we have an incredible host. Angie Martinez is hosting the podcast, and each episode brings people that have been impacted by his work, producers, mentees, friends, and other artists that were inspired by Life After Death. So that podcast comes out later this month. So if we have any hip hop fans in the audience, I encourage you to check it out. But this also reintroduces a new generation to that body of work.
And that podcast will be on all streaming services or just?
It will.
Ooh, so
Yes.
no
Well,
special.
there will be an exclusive window on WMX's
Okay.
publishing sites, but it will eventually be available broadly.
Yeah, I figured, you got to keep the good stuff for yourself for a little
That's right.
while
That's right.
before you give it up to your former employer.
There you go.
There you go. So with Frantz,
Yep.
so absolutely emerging technologies is a big deal when we're talking about any of our subjects. Tell us a little bit of how emerging technologies affected what it is that you're doing in your job.
Yeah, so everything we do for our artists are in partnership with them, right? So it's introducing them to these new ways of engaging fans, but also doing it in a way that they're comfortable and feel good about. So it's a tricky dance, especially when you're testing with new things that may not work out or may not have the best results, right? You always have to be very intentional about how you approach that. So I wanted to share two examples today. The first one is an augmented reality experience that we created to drive commerce. And this one is for an artist called The Gorillas. They're a UK-based band that was coming out with their new album. It just launched this past February. And in the lead up to that, we created an augmented reality sort of merch try-on experience that integrated their new track into that experience. So it's introducing their fan base to the new music, introducing them to this new merch drop, and letting them try on the merch in this immersive AR experience. So I'll show the slides here. We've got, obviously the call to action to try it on with AR. And can we play the video? Do I just click again to play the video?
Nothing more to say. They told themselves to be a cow. They didn't know it's
different hoodies, and then you can click through to the store to purchase. This activation drove over 1,100% increase in traffic to the store and 150% increase in sales, right? Snap is definitely a platform that the Gorillas is very active on. So, you want to choose the right platform, but this idea that you can try on the merch from, wherever you are and go right to purchase was a great test, and they were really excited about it. And this particular band leans into innovation, so it went extremely well. The second example is really demonstrating how we use Web3 technologies and start to activate some of our artists in that space. We did a POAP drop for Kevin Gates's Big Life Tour. A POAP is a digital collectible that fans can claim by attending an event. And then they are allowed listed into this community that the artist can then communicate with and engage with going forward. And so we dropped POAPs, a limited number, at Kevin Gates's last tour. We did it for 7 shows. Fans could claim them by scanning a QR code. There's a picture of the actual art that they would claim. And then he then has the opportunity to engage them with additional experiences throughout the year, now that they're part of this fan club, if you will. But what I love about this is, crypto's definitely going through having a moment, right? It's having a moment. And there's been a lot of negative press around cash grabs and things being very transactional. This definitely allows an artist to play in the space, gain some learning, see what works well without sort of the transactional nature that NFTs have kind of gotten a bad rap for. And while the numbers weren't crazy, we got less than 5,000 scans, if you will, over those 7 shows, it wasn't, the results weren't phenomenal results, but it pointed out some of the barriers to entry, like consumer education is a big lift. This isn't a behavior that's entrenched in fan bases. So you really have to kind of teach them what to do and then deliver value beyond that one experience.
I am sure the first one that you did with the Gorillas allowed you a little bit more leeway with other plans that you have. Do you think that Warner's going to do even more in this area of technology?
Oh, we're testing things all the time. Our BD team has been super active in bringing on different partners that we can work with and scale their capabilities across our roster. We have our own in-house innovation team that looks for these opportunities and pitches them to our artists to sell in these ideas and get them excited about new ways of connecting with fans. So we will continue to push the envelope. But, in the Gorillas case, we're leveraging Snapchat, which is an established platform. Fans are spending time on that. I think the nuance is we're meeting fans where they already are and giving our artists and our fans new ways of connecting and deepening fandom.
That makes perfect sense. Now, one of the things that we had talked about before was how music transitions borders, transitions cultures. Could you give a little bit of an example of some of your artists that you feel does that for everyone?
Yeah, so the exportability of music is a big trend that we've seen, driven primarily by technology, right? Um, as creators, Gen Z, they're really generating new aesthetics, new genres, new fandoms. Um, their tastes are very fluid. They are global citizens, and you're seeing that come through in the creation of new music. And they're also Gen Z streaming more music than any other media. And TikTok has become one of the platforms that is driving a lot of that music discovery. And so that has led to this exportability of music and the rise of new genres like K-pop and Afrofusion. And so um, Burna Boy, if you don't know Burna Boy, he is an Afrofusion superstar. He headlines, he's the first Nigerian artist to headline and sell out Madison Square Garden, which was such like mind blowing to me that in 2022, this happened in 2022, that no Nigerian artist had ever headlined MSG. And so for that moment, so Afrofusion is essentially Afrobeat music infused with other influences. So he's done collabs with Ed Sheeran and Beyonce and many others. But this was such a massive cultural moment that he named the show at MSG a different name than the rest of his tour. It was called One Night in Space. And to make this event even more special, it was live streamed on YouTube for his fans around the world. And so what we did was we created a limited edition merch drop that was integrated into the live stream so fans could watch and purchase. It was also available at the venue. And on his e-commerce store, we activated influencers across the African diaspora to drive awareness to this milestone moment and get fans hyped. But you know, for us, it was about telling this broader story about how Afrofusion and Afrobeat is pop music, and really celebrating the contributions of that community to the music industry. So the merch was really phenomenal. I'll show some examples here of the live stream experience with the merch integrated. We engaged this really cool third generation airbrush artist out of LA who did some of these incredible designs that you're seeing here. And just the fan response was really phenomenal. You know, we were just so proud of being part of that moment and contributing in the small ways that we did.
I am really impressed by how you guys listen to Gen Z. I used to work for a couple companies that will go nameless that would not believe what it was that Gen Z was telling them as this is what they want. And can you please deliver it to us? And it looks like Warner is actually doing that out here. So speaking of artists, creators, doing innovative stuff, fans now get to connect with the creators and the artists in a much more significant way than you and I would look at it from when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Not that we're old.
I'm not calling myself old.
Exactly. Exactly. Things have just changed.
They have changed dramatically.
There you go. Can you tell us how you look at this connection and what it causes for the artists and their creative process?
I think the biggest shift is that the creator-fan relationship has shifted from a one-way broadcast to a two-way exchange, right? They're in a dialogue. And what I'm so impressed with fans today because they are unafraid to use their voice and wield their power, speak on the issues that they care about, but not just talk. They're also willing to use their buying power to patronize brands whose values align with their own, right? They're voting with their dollars. And so we're seeing this play out in some interesting ways in the music space. An example I'll just share is Lizzo, for her last project, she used the word spaz in one of her songs. And, that was considered a slur. I didn't realize that, but, it was considered a slur. Her fans spoke up about it. And she actually took on the feedback. And when I was coming up, that would have never happened. One, you probably, fans didn't really have a voice in the way that they do today. But two, I don't know that creators would have been open to the feedback and shifting. She immediately changed the lyric in her song, and which was really on brand for her, right? She's all about inclusivity and making sure that everyone feels like they belong. So I think it was very on brand for her to do it. But it's a great demonstration of taking on new information, listening and acting on it, and not getting precious about, getting into the debate or even going silent and ignoring it, which, we've seen others do. So we were really proud of the way that Lizzo handled it. And I think it endeared her fans even more that she was open to learning and evolving.
And it must be helpful that streaming services allow you to change what you upload a little bit faster than pressing CDs
That too.
in response.
That too.
One last question before we get to the audience.
Yeah.
And this one is near and dear to my heart as a WWE fan.
Mhm.
Some of the things that you actually do are outside of just presenting your artists. It's really working with other brands to bring them up to speed.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we work with brands and creators outside of the music space. WWE has been a partner of ours for 5 years. We do all of their VIP experiences. So as they're touring the country with their various shows, we do all of the VIP experiences. So meet and greets with the athletes and doing merch packages for them. And so that is a big part of our business. We also do that for our artists. Fans can buy tickets to shows, VIP tickets to shows, and be part of sound checks or whatever experience the artist signs off on to be part of that VIP experience. So it's a really multifaceted offering that we've brought to market, servicing creators of different spaces, and really finding different ways of deepening fandom. And that's not limited to music, as you can see with WWE. That's more of a sports play and a really, really fun client to work with.
Very nice. And hot sauce as well. You work with a little bit of hot sauce?
Yeah, we did talk about that. So we have an artist, Ed Sheeran, who is really passionate about not only ketchup, but hot sauce, and came up with this idea of creating a hot sauce with the consistency of ketchup. And our team, our WMX team out of the UK, worked with him on all of the creative, and the brand will launch later this year. It's called Tingly Teds. Ed was called Teddy in school when he was a student, and so it's his passion project. But this is a great example of how we take things that artists are authentically passionate about and help them bring that to life as a new business. So we're really, really excited. If you're planning to go to any of Ed Sheeran's shows, he's touring here in the U.S. Later this month, and you will see Ted on tour with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the bear.
Oh, Ted the Bear with ketchup hot sauce.
It's hot sauce.
Hot sauce.
Definitely hot sauce.
Consistency of
Yes,
ketchup. I
yes.
don't want to do it wrong
Don't do it wrong.
because that would be bad marketing. Or people are just like, this does not taste anything like ketchup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if you go on Ed's Instagram, you will see him, a cute little ad that he did just talking about why he created this, and his passion for hot sauce really comes through.
But it's not the bear Ted with Mark Wahlberg.
No, it's not.
All right, there
It's
you
not.
go. So let's open up the questions to the room. We have a little bit of time for question and answers.
Yeah, so there's definitely best practices that we use based on our expertise in each channel. You know, from a merch perspective, we're driving revenue on tour, retail, and e-commerce, which are very different spaces. So we definitely bring that level of expertise into how do you build an e-com business, right? But in terms of bespoke strategies, we're looking at our first-party data around fans and fan behavior for that artist and comparable artists, and then also talking to the artists themselves about their new project, what they're passionate about, what categories are they open to. We're not trying to force them into spaces that are inauthentic to who they are. And so bringing those two sort of pieces of information together and finding the right intersection, and then over time, okay, here's what phase one will look like. Here's where we want to start to build your business. And then in phase two, we'll bring in these additional channels. So it looks different for each artist, but in terms of the suite of services we have, that's pretty much set. It is evolving, though, as technologies emerge, new features emerge across these different platforms that we have partnerships with. And so we're constantly looking for new opportunities to bring these first-to-market experiences to our artists. That is a brilliant question. You know, I think that the Grateful Dead is probably our best example of, over the long term, what can this turn into, right? They are a massive, massive business outside of music, with all of the licensing deals that we've done and all of the collabs. I mean, they've literally been to Paris Fashion Week with a Off-White collaboration, right? And installations in, you know, some of the most luxurious retailers around the world. And that started as like fan merch, right? Like Shakedown Street was fan driven. Their fans would basically set up little booths and make stuff, and so that they could sell it and stay on tour and follow the band, right? And that was really what started their merch business. And we really kind of adopted that insight around fan behavior and turned that into a business for them long term that really drove the drop strategy for their merch in its earliest days. So I do think that that is like the holy grail of what this could turn into. And it really is up to each artist to determine, you know, do you want a hot sauce? Do you want a fragrance? Do you want to do these collabs? And they're creators themselves, right? These are people that have strong points of view on how they want their brand to grow. And so we're just here to help facilitate that.
Well, thank you for your time, Danielle. Please give a round of applause for my friend Danielle.
Thank you so much.